Hello and welcome. I am Carl Zha, your host to the Silk and Steel podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. We have Pepe Escobar, who needs no introduction, who is coming to join us from Bangkok, Thailand. Pepe, just in case there's some among my audience who may have been living in a cave for the last 20 years, could you do a brief introduction of yourself to them?
Well, Carl, first of all, it's a huge pleasure to reconnect the BKK Bali connection, in fact.
Yes.
Which for me has been part of my personal history for decades. Well, a mini introduction for all of you who are looking at this guy and say, what the hell is this guy coming from? Well, it's a long story. I am a dinosaur, first of all. So that's why many of you won't know me.
You're OG. You're
exactly.
OG, Pepe. You're OG. Original gangster.
Okay, so as an OG, I am a member of a dying breed, which is the foreign correspondent, which is my official profession, which is dying, literally. Most of my peers, my older colleagues, they're all dead, for all that matter. And my contemporaries, most of them are, in fact, all of them are retired, many of them in disgust, after suing their newspapers, of course. So there are not many of us left. So we go back to a wonderful tradition in the newspaper business in the past, which was the foreign correspondent. Like great newspapers, big newspapers used to send people all around the world and sometimes to different destinations, and you would be covering a particular capital or region. In my case, it was even crazy. During a few years, I was covering Asia as a whole, which is something completely absurd. But at the time, you could do that. And the director of the paper says, yes, you're going to Asia. I said, wow. But the great thing is that you had the freedom to go anywhere you wanted. Turkmenistan, Timor, no problem, But this is an old era. I'm talking about the previous millennium for all of you young people. So in 2000, in fact, 25 years ago, I switched to online media. And I started a long relationship with Asia Times based in Hong Kong, which at the time was an online, a mini online. It started as a newspaper, in fact, but at the time was just a mini website. And of course, we were very lucky. It was circumstances, of course, but a little bit of where's the action happening next. We were in Afghanistan and Pakistan before 9/11. And when I say we, my dear friend, it's a horrible story. Later, he was killed because he discovered an Al-Qaeda cell in the Pakistani Navy. So he was actually assassinated. We tried, we all of us, we tried everything, and obviously the Pakistani government at the time, they buried the so-called investigation, completely.
Right.
And Salim was based in Karachi. He was our correspondent in Pakistan. And I was between Peshawar and Islamabad. And that's where we were before 9/11. And after 9/11, we continued to do the same thing. And we picked up a gigantic audience, especially in the United States. They said, who are these crazy people in the middle of all the... It was us, essentially. And two guys here in Bangkok who were editing everything. It was a very small operation, but we made our mark. So I stayed with them on and off, mostly for 20 years. And I left a few years ago because it was bought by American bankers. So obviously we had serious clashes. And in the end, I left.
Yeah, I did notice there was a whole editorial change in Asia Times.
I'm sure you noticed, Carl. Yeah, it used to be For all of you younger generations, in journalistic terms, we had total freedom in the 2000s up to 2014. It was an outstanding experiment because our benefactor, a Sino Thai tycoon, Sondi Limthonggu, Sondi would, he would hands off completely, and we could do anything we wanted. We just need to stick to our small budget every month, but we could do anything we wanted. Our travels, you name it. So from 2001 to 2014, that was quite something. It was a beautiful experiment. But when the American bankers bought it, of course, the whole thing changed. And for instance, when they called me back, my brief was, okay, you're going to cover the new Silk Roads. I said, yes, I'm already doing this, but I was writing for the Russians at the time. Obviously, when they start to see what I was writing about the New Silk Roads and China, immediately I became an agent of the CCP.
Wow.
So obviously we were in shock all the time. And in the end, I was fed up because when I was writing about Russia, it was the same thing. I was paid by the Kremlin. And when I was writing about Iran, I was paid by the Ayatollahs. So you know American bankers, Carl. You cannot reason with these people. So in the end, it was inevitable, But this is a short... I would say a short summary of what I've been doing for the past 40 years. When I started, you guys, you have no idea when I started. It was during the Reagan-Gorbachev era. Can you believe this shit? My first post as a foreign correspondent was London. And the big story in the in 1985, 86 was Reagan-Gorbachev. So, we dinosaurs, we managed to see the whole shit these past 40 years. And that's why nowadays, the only thing we look around and the only thing, our only possible reaction is to laugh about the whole thing, about the whole tragicomic environment that we inherited. And it's getting worse by the day, as you all know.
I think that's the only sensible and healthy response to the whole farce. But what I really want to talk to you about today, the reason I brought you here is to talk about your latest project, which I play a small part in because we recently traveled.
We were together in that trip, yeah.
We traveled the modern Silk Road in Xinjiang region of China, and now that we are, we had some time to settle our thoughts. We have left. Now I'm interested to kind of dig your brain for your reaction, because I know you have traveled to Xinjiang way before, like 27, 28 years ago, back in 1997, 1998. And contrast that with what you saw recently, like this month on this trip. I mean, I can imagine there's just tremendous changes. What are some of your reactions, initial reactions?
Of course. Wow, Carl, it was an enormous shock. And I was amazed by everything that I saw, to tell you the truth. Compared to my first two trips in 97, 98, and then I came back in 2003. Yeah, it hadn't changed much. That was the year of the Iraqi War. After the Iraqi War, a few months later, I did the Silk Road again, starting in Xi'an. And then I think 2009 or 2010, still, you could see the beginning of a few changes in terms of modernization. And the last time I went to Urumqi, I flew from Beijing, so I didn't see what was going on in between. So this trip was planned for 2020. It didn't happen because of COVID, the trip that we made together, The first part of the trip was to what I did solo, retracing the ancient Silk Road from Xi'an to Urumqi via the Gansu corridor, and especially with a special stop in Dunhuang, right? And the second part is what we did together. This is absolutely outstanding on the road in Xinjiang. So the year before, 2019, I did the other side. I went to the three stands bordering China. Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan. And I did, let's say, New Silk Road loop on the Central Asian side. Just to give you an idea, all of you, it was a no man's land. We were outside of the Pamir Highway, and my driver, a Pamiri, he studied in Russia. He said, "Look, you see that fence over there? There's a no man's land of 20 kilometers, and after 20 kilometers is Xinjiang." Unbelievable. Total no man's land. Literally nothing. Just bare rock. So they are very, very close. And of course, we went to the borders. In the Kazakh-Chinese border, wow. It's non-stop action, as you know, the dry port of Korgos. You have one border for trucks in the highway, one border for passengers, one border for trains. You have a free trade zone. It's completely crazy. You see the New Silk Roads in action. Then there's the Kyrgyz Xinjiang border and the Tajik Xinjiang border. There, of course, much cooler, but you see traffic of cargo trucks in and out all the time. What we saw together this time was on the Chinese side, and I had a particular shock, Carl, because I was expecting the Karakoram highway on the Chinese side to be at least 4 lanes and very, very busy. Yes, it was very busy, but it was only 2 lanes and ultra congested. So we couldn't find anybody to answer the key question. Why do you have only 2 lanes leaving from Kashgar? That's the beginning of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the #1 project of Belt and Road, cross-border with the super important border China-Pakistan, and you have a perennial traffic jam. So I assume the costs are still very, very high, and they'll be waiting for the next stage. Because a few years ago, they were saying, soon we're going to have a super highway from Kashgar all the way to Islamabad and then the south of Pakistan and Balochistan, and even a pipeline. Oh, man, this is going to take forever. It's a really long-term project. So during our trip, we had shocks like that in terms of maybe the infrastructure building is not progressing as fast as we thought. For instance, on the Pakistani side, it is 2 lanes, but when you look at the environment, it's literally across the Karakoram mountain. So, okay, to do a mega highway over there is practically impossible. But what the Chinese did, they repaved everything as a state-of-the-art road with fiber optics all across. Tunnels, a succession of tunnels that the Chinese built, all of them, and it's absolutely amazing. I remember the Karakoram in the late 90s was still a mega adventure to travel the Karakoram. Was very tough. This was only 25 years ago. Nothing. So this is one example. The other example is totally the opposite. It's the mega modernization. 2 things that we saw. Arriving in Urumqi, and you arrive at a mega Chinese city in the middle of the desert. And when we crossed the Taklamakan, which was one of my dreams since forever. And it's absolutely mind-boggling. This super highway, the Chinese magic cube, the reeds on both sides, protecting from the shifting sands, the 2 green barriers on both sides as well, leisure stops, tourist spots. And of course, the green belt. We saw the green belt in the beginning and in the end of our crossing. The 3,500 plus green belt encircling the Taklamakan. So when you see these things, well, my initial reaction was always the same. Man, socialism with the Chinese characteristics, these motherfuckers know what they're doing.
Okay, now I want to ask you specifically, though,
of course,
on Kashgar, because you visited Kashgar, I think, before they redeveloped the place.
Totally.
Yeah, because Kashgar, they actually use the American Hollywood actually used Kashgar as the backdrop to shoot the film Kite Runner because they
You
couldn't
told
do
me
it.
that. Yes.
Yeah, because they couldn't do it in Kabul, Afghanistan, too dangerous. So they shot it in Kashgar, Xinjiang, because they thought they got an approximation of what Kabul looked like back in 1970s. And this movie was in 2007. So
Hmm.
so I think they redeveloped it after you say you were in Kashgar in 2009, 2010. I think
2009, it was the beginning, Carl. 2009, it was the beginning of the, how can I put this diplomatically? Revamping of the old city. They had the idea of turning the old city into a sort of, okay, open air mega shopping mall, sort of. In fact, it is now. In fact, it is, but at least they preserved it. You remember the conversations we had with homestay owners or business owners, that they got some help from the government to renovate the houses. I see. Because the rents in the main road over there, they are very high. It's very expensive. So can they get the money back on business? They have business all the time?
Oh, yep. For example, this is my house. You want to run a business.
Okay.
Like homestay, shops, I can
Yes.
rent you.
Okay.
And you pay for me rental.
Exact. So exact.
Exactly.
And the rents here, for instance, are high as well.
Yes, yes.
They
It's
are.
according to the size
According, yes,
and then the house locations.
of course.
For
But
example,
this is a very nice location.
Yep.
It's one of the main alleys leading to
exactly.
the. Okay.
Exactly.
And I think was pretty decent. They offered money for them to upgrade their homes. They had the option to stay in their own homes or to rent their homes to new businesses. So nobody lost anything, in fact. And of course, I remember reading a lot of horrors in Western media about it. And it's absolutely untrue. Everything was untrue. But okay, but that's Western media. We know how it works. But the other thing is to actually go there and talk to the locals and see for ourselves.
so. You actually stayed in Kashgar Old Town for a couple of days after we have already left. How was that?
I did. It was great because we had more time to interact with the local businessman, the local, our homestay owner, for instance. She gave us a wonderful interview. She's a young businesswoman. She's probably 30 now. When she was 23 or 24, she's from northern Xinjiang. She decided to go to Kashgar and say, look, maybe I'm going to start a business here. Now she owns a homestay in one of the best alleys in the old city. So she told us how does it work, how much rent does she pay, the influx of the domestic touristic boom, how the provincial government pays a lot of attention to the development of the city on that. So this was fascinating, really fascinating, and I had a beautiful experience, Carl. This was very touching. Then our last night, I was reviewing some of the footage with our director of photography, Stan, the guy who shot our documentary, and I brought some stuff that I had on my one of my drives. What I actually shot in Kashgar in the summer of '98 when I was traveling with my wife. We shot the Idka Mosque in the morning. Then we shot the whole animal and vegetable market during the day. So when I was showing these images to Stan, the girls in the homestay, they start coming and, wow, look at this. It was the first time that they saw these images of their own city when they were not even born. Man, I almost cried. That was beautiful. That was such a beautiful moment. And I felt humbled and at the same time very excited to show them, look, this is how your city was in the last millennium.
Last century.
Literally, last millennium. And when you compare, Carl, wow. There were no paved roads leading to the Idka Mosque, for instance. That huge swinging square that we saw, it was not there. and some of the buildings around it, they were not there as well. It's very, very impressive. And it was more or less a segregated city at the time. I think the Chinese learned a lot these past few years. So we had the old city that looked like it was for the past centuries. And you had a modern Chinese city, like half an hour walk away, but completely separated with People's Square, with the statue of Mao in the middle and all that. This time, we did an experiment. We started at the People's Square in front of Mao's statue, and we walked back to the old city. And now everything is seamlessly integrated. It's organic. The integration is organic. And you see Han Chinese, Uyghurs, Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, everybody, doing business together. Interaction, the famous people-to-people's exchange, Xi Jinping style, You see that in front of you everywhere. Like we saw everywhere we went in Xinjiang, right?
Yeah, one thing I did was I walk around. I did the same walk from People's Square to the Kashgar old city.
To the old city.
I just hold out my DJI Pocket 3 in front of me. I didn't say anything. I have a half hour of footage. I plan just to post that on YouTube and say
you should do that. Definitely do that. Yeah,
walk
no
around
words.
Cash.
You don't need, exactly. You don't need words. That's it. People will see for themselves, and they will be like, "Wow."
Yeah, and the fact is, I know for a fact that even Chinese state media would not post footage like that because they would just think it's too common. Like they think it's not. But what they don't realize, this is actual everyday living for the local people. This is authentic footage, what people would like to see. Yes. And
for foreigners will be like, wow. So it is in fact organic. Everybody interacting with each other and bustling. And it's a business center. Kashgar is a business center as well. It's not Urumqi, of course. Urumqi is already a high-tech center. But Kashgar is still a mega bazaar, an open-air mega bazaar. Yeah.
And I was also, it was, I think, pretty obvious for our trip that most of the tourism, which I think probably employ the most people in Xinjiang right now, a lot of the tourism is primarily driven by domestic tourism, because our driver have told us that there was a sharp drop of foreign travelers after 2008. So much that the English-speaking tour guide, they start drop out of the profession. They start joining careers elsewhere with trading companies, that would make better use of their English skills, because there were just not enough foreign tourists coming to Xinjiang. So, but today, the foreign tourists are completely replaced by the Chinese domestic tourism, and the Chinese domestic tourism everywhere. I was impressed.
I was very impressed. You were impressed. I was immensely impressed. And whole families from the eastern part of China, they go there, they rent their Tank 300 Jeep, and, they are swinging on the road everywhere. Fascinating. And we didn't see foreigners, essentially.
You guys got a lot of looks. You and Stan got a lot of looks. but it was good. You were celebrities. All these ladies at Kashgar wanted pictures taken with you.
But I was expecting to see more European tourists at least. No, remember when we went to get our border permit in Kashgar, we met two backpacking couples from Italy. There was a lady, she was Franco-Chinese, Chinese living in France with her husband, and a German with his family. That's it. These were the foreigners that we actually saw on this trip. It's incredible. Incredible. Well, we understand why. The campaign of demonization of Xinjiang, it was not only in the US, it was all across Europe as well. So if you ask an average Frenchman or German, they think that Xinjiang is slave labor and concentration camps everywhere. Is it safe to go there? The usual stupidity.
Yeah, it's very safe because actually I mean safety is the last thing you need to worry about in China and in Xinjiang in particular. Because there's actually heavy police presence in Xinjiang, as we have seen, and but surprisingly, the police are actually very polite and very professional.
Extremely polite. And we should tell our audience, in many places, in our case as foreigners, it was facial recognition. We were going through a lot of checkpoints. We didn't even have to stop because the cameras, obviously, our files were already there in the central um, database. So they knew that this was a bunch of foreigners traveling together. And sometimes we had to, our leader, let's put it this way, our local producer, she had to show our passports. But most of the time was facial recognition. And everybody extremely polite, extremely polite. So this proves that they are not seeing many foreigners traveling around Xinjiang. We were a sort of an exception, in fact.
Yeah, because I remember when the time we did get stopped in Khotan, um, the Uyghur police were very apologetic. They're like, "Oh, so sorry, we have to do this to you. To you,
But
we're
this was because of the drone thing, wasn't it?
Uh, no, this was a separate thing. When we're on our way to Yanjisar, that day on our way to Kashgar, Khotan, the first time we got pulled over for our passport check. And
Yes, okay, I remember this one as well. But for instance, two other instances. One night we were shooting in Urumqi. Stan and myself, we were in. There are two downtowns in Urumqi. Is so big they have two downtowns. So we were in the top downtown shooting all those buildings clad in red with 70 in all of them. That's the 70th anniversary of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, and we happened to be there at the time. And then the police approached us, and then we found out why. Stan he was framing one of the buildings, but there was a police station nearby. We didn't notice. And then the guy told us, look, this is a police station. You cannot film that. But we didn't know that. So he erased the footage that where the police station was side by side with the big building. And they were super polite as well. And another time was in the Pamir areas, for instance, was very, very easy. Once you get the permit, super easy to travel all across the Pamir Tajik areas. No, there was another instance when they approached us and they were the drone thing. For instance, we didn't know we were in the back of a canyon. Can you imagine? Literally, in the middle of the desert, in the back of a canyon. So Stan, he had a drone. So we needed some drone footage, obviously, absolutely outstanding place. The problem is there are cameras everywhere, even in the back of the canyon. So obviously police came later, said, guys, sorry, but no drones anywhere. It was because of Xi Jinping's trip to Urumqi and the commemoration of the 7th year.
We got a little bit cocky, because before we fly the drones, we said, wow, Emperor, the mountains are high and emperors are far away because
and the emperor is far away. No, the emperor is there. The emperor is an all-seeing emperor.
So we just chose a bad time to go because they had a drone ban throughout the 70s.
They had a drone ban for everybody. So, but remember when we met that guy in the Panlong Mountains? He was flying his own drone, so he probably met somebody who gave him some sort of permit. He was the only guy who could fly a drone in that area.
Did you know? your interview on Judge Napolitano has gone viral on Chinese social media.
It went viral in China. Several
Yeah.
people told me that. And
Yeah.
I told the judge yesterday, and they were like, wow.
you know how fast he went viral? On the way back, like right after we left Kashgar, on our flight from Kashgar to Shanghai, Jenny was picking up a Global Times that was on the plane, and in that Global Times was a piece, an excerpt of your interview piece on Judge Napolitano, because they already have translated everything, put subtitles on it, and after that, Xinhua, the official Chinese state media, Tiansan Net, which is the official media of Xinjiang region, they all have reposted videos of your clips of your interview with Judge Napolitano with Chinese.
And this is enormous. Because probably, I'm not sure, but maybe this was the first time on an American podcast that it was shot straight from Xinjiang live. Probably was the first time.
And you know what, Pepe? And I watched that interview. Even though you are live streaming from Kashgar, I have to say your quality looked much better than Judge Napolitano, who just had a virtual background. Because you look like you are in a professional studio setting.
But you know who did it, Carl? Stan gave me. In fact, Stan used my DJI mic plugged to my laptop, and he had lights, so it looked like a real studio. It was in front of our homestay, and of course with people passing. The judge, when he saw that, he was like, "Wow!" It was very, very funny.
I recognized that was a coffee shop in front of your homestay, but I was like,
exactly. So we filmed in that coffee shop. Yeah.
Yeah, that looked really good, and now everyone in China knows about you. So that's how I was sharing those videos to. I was sharing those videos to my family in China. I'm like, hey, look, they're talking about our trip. And my mom's like, they didn't talk about you. It's all about Pepe. I'm like, I'm with Pepe, I swear.
No, but this is good, I would say, pre-PR for our documentary, because a lot of people, when the documentary comes out, they will remember. Exactly. And of course, Chinese media, we need, when we release the documentary, we have to get this all across Chinese media. We will, because this is probably going to be the first major Western. It's not Western. It's a Chinese production, our documentary, essentially. But with Westerners involved in English, talking about Xinjiang on the road.
It's a multipolar production, Pepe. It's a
multipolar. It's a total multipolar production. Absolutely. And it's more Asian than Western.
Yeah, we have you, a Brazilian journalist. We have a Russian photographer.
Chinese American. Well. Exactly, Chinese American.
Yeah. Well, we have a South African as well. Don't forget about Germ. So we got we got all the BRICS members present.
We had we got the BRICS on the move. South Africa, Russia, Brazil. So we are BRICS together. Cheers.
BRICS. China, Brazil,
Russia,
Indonesia, BRICS.
Oh my God! Okay, start all over again. China, South Africa, Russia, Brazil, Indonesia,
BRICS. 5
permanent members of BRICS.
BRICS representation on the trip.
Full BRICS participation. Fantastic. But look, Carl, to sum it all up, for me, this was one of the most beautiful moments of my professional career. And of course, of my life as a nomad, in fact. Especially when you cherish so much coming back to one of your favorite places. And it was very hard to go to Xinjiang until 2 years ago, maybe after COVID. Until last year, it was very, very tough. It was practically impossible. And during the 2010s, you could not go there. You could maybe fly to Urumqi maximum, but that was it.
Even the our driver said, during that time, like at the checkpoints, everybody have to get out, and then they check your IDs. Now today they just ask you to roll down the windows, look into the camera, and then and just wave you through. So so things are definitely getting better. I know you have you are planning to go back. I know you are planning to go back, but I wanted to remind you, March and April can still be cold in northern Xinjiang. What the locals told me is May. After the May 1st holiday, the weather will start to get better.
Now, okay, we'll take this into consideration. We have already discussed a part 2 of the documentary, and it's approved. There will be a part 2, and it will be focused more on northern Xinjiang, because the idea is to go to those 3 borders: Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. So the focus will be more on the geoeconomics of the north of the Belt and Road Initiative, Xinjiang with Central Asia. And of course, we can spend some more time in Urumqi to talk about Urumqi as a high-tech center. So it will be a different focus compared to this first documentary. It had a strong ancient Silk Road aspect to it, right? So this was my original idea. I wanted to see the ancient Silk Road in Xinjiang now, and then compare it with the past, obviously. So we didn't have much time to see high-tech Xinjiang. So we did see it a lot. Of course we did, yes, but not in detail. For instance, we didn't spend enough time in Urumqi. But just an example for all of you, our audience. You leave Urumqi and you go to Turfan, one of the top oases in the Northern Silk Road, and you see electrification of China. You see that those forests of wind turbines and solar panels, and you see those solar farms as well. You can see the light, on the poles for miles and miles away. So you see mechanization of agriculture. We saw all that. These are some, but there's another aspect of Urumqi as an IT hub. So this next time is something that we can see. And of course, yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
No, a lot of people don't even realize Xinjiang is an up and coming new tech hub, because well, first of all, they probably get inundated by a lot of Western propaganda. But Xinjiang now has one of the cheapest electricity in China because of proliferation of solar farms and wind farms. That in fact, we talked to a American entrepreneur in Shanghai. They were formerly involved in like crypto business, and at one point they had sent their contact to Urumqi to talking about setting up a crypto mining operation in Xinjiang because electricity was cheap. Oh, that was before China banned crypto mining.
Before they banned crypto mining, you bet. Yeah.
But that's because of the cheap electricity. A lot of the high-tech industries are now moving to Xinjiang. In fact,
moving to Xinjiang.
One of the like a lot of for production of solar panels, for example. Because itself is very, very energy intensive. A lot of the solar panel components are today made in Xinjiang.
They are all made in Xinjiang. Yeah. Wow, it's very impressive when you see that in front of you. Driving along the highway. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I remember that many, many years ago, this didn't exist at all. I remember going to Turfan, from Urumqi to Turfan, it was just desert. That's it. Now it's a high-tech highway.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think in 2 weeks, we have traveled through more cities in southern Xinjiang than even many Chinese people, because
most Chinese people, you're right. Because we went to the top oasis in the north, and then the top oasis in the south as well, all the way to Kashgar. Not many people do that. Yeah.
and we cut right across the Taklamakan desert. And so we hit all the spots. And if you
We hit all the spots because this was the original idea. Okay, the capital, Urumqi, the most important oasis, Kashgar. From Kashgar to close to the China-Pakistan border because of the China-Pakistan economic corridor, and on the northern Silk Road and the southern Silk Road, the top oasis, and of course crossing the Taklamakan. With all that, you do the perfect loop of southern Xinjiang. Of course, we didn't go to northern Xinjiang. That's next time.
That would be something. Then you would have definitely surpassed most of the Chinese in the amount of Xinjiang places you have explored, I think.
But even before, Carl, when I was in Dunhuang before going to Urumqi, I met a lot of families from Shanxi province. They said, "Look, this is the first time we come here, and not very far when you think about it. For them, Xinjiang is like going to Europe or going to the Americas. It's very far. The Western regions, it's very far.
Well, Pepe, back in the old days, I'm talking about in the 80s and 90s, you will take 2 weeks to take a train from Yili to Beijing. Two
Wow.
weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks train trip from Yili on the border with Kazakhstan to
Yes,
Beijing.
to Beijing.
This is, I mean, even for me, I remember in the 80s, my parents would take me to Chongqing in Sichuan and take a train to Shanghai, and that took 3 days and 3 nights. I mean, today, this is for the first time a lot of the Chinese people can travel within reasonable time, travel those distances with reasonable time because of development of high-speed rail and highway system and airports. Because remember, even in places like in Tashkurgan on the Pamir Plateau, now there's an airport.
We have an airport now in Tashkurgan. Amazing, exactly. Tashkurgan probably it's 20,000 people, 30,000 people, not more than that. It's a very small settlement. Airport. And it's a strategic airport because it's close to those borders. Afghanistan, Pakistan.
And it is an international airport. They do fly to Islamabad from Tashkurgan, apparently.
Oh, it makes total sense for business people, Pakistani business people, Chinese business people. Makes total sense. Well, train journeys, I remember. Once I did Chengdu Kunming, was almost 2 days. Almost 2 days. And it was not a long time ago. It was probably 25 years ago. Okay, 25 years ago in China is literally
older than my younger cousin. Yes,
older than most of your family.
Yeah.
I was before talking to you. I was going through the plenum in Beijing, so I'm going to write a column about the plenum. And of course, what do they decide? We'll continue to do what we're doing, developing our country. Exactly. Investing 5-year plans, building our moderately prosperous society.
They put out a video. They put out a video of their 5-year plan on Twitter. I saw that. They're like, this is what we're gonna do, right? Next 5 years. And in China's case, they're probably gonna deliver. This is not like Donald Trump's campaign promise or something.
No, no, no. It's because if the people responsible don't deliver, they have to pay the consequences. It's a meritocratic system. That's the difference. You have targets, a lot of people involved, and you have to meet the targets step by step. And this is supervised by the millimeter. That's how it works. That's how you develop Xinjiang in okay, max it was between 10 and 15 years. Everything that we saw was built in the past 10 to 15 years. Everything.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, a lot of the hotels we stayed in, I asked around,
Wow.
they were
That is
building last year or so.
building
They're all
last year.
building last year, yeah.
And
And they're very
I commented with this with my European friends. I say, guys, first of all, in Europe, you have no idea that hotels like that exist. Not those pieces of shit that you have in Italy, France, Germany, etc. Second, if they existed in Europe, you would be paying 500 euros a night. We were paying less than $100 a night to stay in them. Brand new, impeccable, modern, everything electronic hotels. In the middle of okay, I wouldn't say nowhere, but very far away from everything. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, even in Turpan, they have those robots delivering water to your room. If you call the front desk, you want more water, they will send the robot with water.
They send the robot.
Door.
Well, but people in the West have no idea about anything. In fact, only the few ones who actually take the trouble to travel to China, but they're still mostly in the East. You see them in Beijing. I saw some tourists in Xi'an, not too many. And as you go west, they disappear completely. They don't go. So they're not seeing the development of China on, I would say, in a comprehensive perspective. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, what I was surprised was, how many Chinese people now have both the leisure time and the disposable income to travel within their own country now. I mean, like, because I remember we went to the Kashgar old city. One of the most popular thing for people to do is to go rent a Uyghur costume, get the makeup, and have hire a photographer to shoot you around the city. So I first assumed, okay, this is just a tourist thing for those tourists from the east to do, right? But later I'm like, wait, I actually saw Uyghur people dressing up. So I'm like, well, what's going on here? So I went to ask them. I was like, oh, are you Uyghur? They're like, yeah. Wait, are you a local? They're like, no, we're from Aksu or we're from Kucha. So I realized, okay, so they're Uyghur tourists. They're traveling to Kashgar for the holiday, right? So it's for everybody. The tourist site is for everybody.
It's just like those in Xi'an in front of the bell tower. Every day it's an absolutely outstanding Instagram, TikTok catwalk. But most of the girls, they are not from Xi'an. They're from other parts of China. They want to do their Tang princess stuff in Xi'an, of course. And the craziest one is in Dunhuang. In Dunhuang, they go to those dunes, the Mingsha dunes outside of Dunhuang, and they have to pose like princes of the desert. Man, I spent a whole day just looking at them, and it's absolutely fascinating from all over. The same thing, not only from central China, from everywhere, from from Yunnan, you name it. Fantastic, fantastic. So it's an industry all across China, especially young girls, and it's a fascinating way of valuing their culture. So if they go to Xi'an, they pose as a Tang princess. If they go to Kashgar, they pose as a Uyghur princess. Perfect. You know.
Actually, I asked our driver. They said that Chinese government actually have a policy to strongly encourage tourism to go to Xinjiang. So, for example, for state-owned enterprises, for government employees as well, they usually get to take a like paid vacation, of paid by their work unit. But they're strongly encouraged to make that paid vacation in Xinjiang. So there's a strongly government directed effort to direct more tourism to Xinjiang to inject the cash into the local economy.
Man, this is brilliant in so many aspects because it's supporting the local economy and at the same time showing to the rest of China, look what we did here. They advertising lots of state agencies, federal government, regional government, scholars, universities, etc., who invested in Xinjiang these past 10, 15 years. And now you see the fruits in front of you, you know. Sustainable. This is another definition of sustainable development. Well, in the case of China, it's much easier because of those 5-year plans, Carl. That makes all the difference, right?
Long-term planning, which is not a thing, not a thing in US. There's not a long-term planning, not a thing in the US. In the US, they only care about the quarterly earning reports. You know how
The
you will
quarterly-
affect the stock price.
They cannot even plan their dinner. Can you imagine 5-year plans?
Well, that's beyond the election cycle, Pepe. You know, 5 years is 1 year too long.
It's 1 year to exact. Yeah. No, but they could not even plan for 4 years if they wanted. It's at best is a quarterly, and in practice is probably 1 week after another. That's it. You know.
Well, in Trump's case, he will change his policy in a tweet in 24 hours or 48 hours. So, yeah, so that's where we are. I mean, that's why when in the beginning you said all you can do is laugh. I mean, I think that's a healthy response in such situation.
Well, for all of us who follow the dementia, I think our only antidote is to laugh about the stupidity of it all. Because if we take that too seriously, our lives become unlivable. In fact, we cannot take that too seriously. Well, nothing that comes from the US or the European Union, nothing, literally, we can take seriously. So at least we take seriously what comes from China, Russia, Iran, you know, some other players across Eurasia. That's different. The Sahel states, some states in Africa. These are serious people. But when we compare to this fragmentation and disaggregation of the West, wow. It's terrifying in many aspects because it will only get worse. And it's their own doing. Nobody's forcing them to act like this. It's their own non-decisions or lousy decisions. So it was very hard, Carl, and for all of you, it was very hard to leave China this time. I was very lucky because I came here to Thailand. If I had left back to the West, wow, I would be in deep depression like for weeks. Seriously. The contrast is so mind-boggling. Huh? It was years ago. It was the equivalent of leaving the West to come here to Southeast Asia at the time of the Asian tigers. You could see the whole region here booming and dreaming about the future, compared to the West, which at the time during the 90s they were self-satisfied that we're ruling the whole thing and we'll continue to rule the whole world. Nope. But this was the mindset at the time. So when you were traveling to Asia at the time, you could see, no, the future is among these people. It's what we're seeing now.
I think the Asian century is here already. It's not like in the
Oh,
future.
totally.
We are already in the Asian
No,
century.
it's already here. But this is something you can only see if you live in Asia or if you come from the West, if you spend a lot of time in Asia. Then you start to get the picture. Otherwise, it's impossible. For the majority of the brainwash. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
By the way, my 4-year-old son had the same reaction as you. He's asking me, "Dad, why did we come home from China? I want to be in China."
Yes,
That's my.
he said that. Wow.
He said that.
It's fascinating because this is a visceral, instinctive feeling. It's nothing intellectual. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. You can feel it. You can feel literally, you can feel the vibe, which is something in our trip. The vibe of everything that, all the places we've been, the people we were talking to, the vibe was amazing. So obviously you get contaminated. Even leaving China, I came via Chengdu. I arrived in Chengdu in a brand new airport terminal. Literally, the guys have just inaugurated a mega terminal, impeccable. It was a few weeks before. Mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. I remember Chengdu because I flew from Chengdu to Tibet zillions of years ago, and the airport was a mess. The airport was a total.
I remember going to Chengdu back in 1990 from my hometown Chongqing in order to visit the American consulate to get a visa to come to US to join my parents. And I remember at that time it took me 1 day and 1 night by train to get to Chengdu. And this time when I went back to after our Xinjiang trip concluded, I went back to my hometown Chongqing, and one of my expat friend in Chongqing, Daniel Dumbrell, he took me on a day trip to Chengdu. We took the high-speed train from Chongqing. We were in Chengdu in like hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. I remember at the time it was like what, 12 hours by train, 10 hours, 12 hours, something like that. Yeah. There you go. Socialism with Chinese characteristics. You know that this is hard to, go ahead. This is hard to explain. No. This is hard to explain even to a lot of people that seem to be at least acquainted to what China has been doing for this past 20, 25 years. They still don't get the dimension of the whole thing. They don't get the scope, the breadth, the amount of investment, the planning, the organization. It is unexplainable for most people. That's why I think the approach by the Communist Party is very sound. They tell the whole global South, look, it's not that you need to copy the Chinese model. No, we did a few things that were pretty good. We made some mistakes. You can learn from everything that we did here that worked, and then you can apply to your own conditions in your own states. That's very, very sound. So if you tell that to somebody in Latin America or Africa, they will pay attention. No question. They are offering something to the global South that it's much bigger than what it seems. They are.
That's a different approach between China and the so-called Washington Consensus, right? The Washington Consensus is there's a universal value everyone must adopt. By the way, the universal value is our value. You must adopt our value. And China is saying Yeah, China is saying, well, actually, the China model is unique to our circumstances. You can come to learn from us, take what you think will be useful to apply to yourself, but like we're not asking you to copy us. We're just serving. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So
exactly.
if you want to cross the Taklamakan, there are 4 ways to do it.
Yeah.
And you can stop along the way to have a drink on top of it.
Yes. Yes.
Incredible.
Well, this has been a fascinating post-trip interview, and I really hope we'll probably do another one by the time when our documentary comes out.
Anytime you want, Carl. The heavy work starts now, and Stan, he has gone through the footage, and he's going to prepare a first rough cut. So maybe next week or the week after next, we're going to have a Zoom to start talking about the first rough cut, and then planning the next one. So it's good. It's a tremendous job, but maybe it could be ready by the end of the year or the beginning of next year.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I have some. Well, I have some footage of my own. So what I can do is, I'll start.
Did you send your footage to him?
I did.
Already?
I did.
Good.
I did.
For instance,
especially
our conversation with the barber shop will have to
Yes.
be in the documentary. It's a must. It's an absolute
Yes,
must.
two guys walking in the Uyghur barbershop. That's going to be in our documentary. And
Of course, I already wrote the column. My column starts with us
I read it.
the barbershop.
I read it. It was fantastic. Well, Pepe, thank you very much for making your time.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And I look forward to your next adventure when you do a follow-up trip, when Xinjiang trip part 2.
Definitely. It'll be spring next year. Guaranteed.
Awesome. Well, if people want to follow you, for the people who have been hiding under a rock for the last 20 years, for people who want to follow you today, where do they go?
Exactly. This is important because my work is a little bit scattered everywhere. It's very complicated. Well, a lot of people follow me on several podcasts. This is easy to find. And these podcasts, they have a large audience. But I'm a writer. I'm not a podcaster or a YouTuber. I am a writer, an old school writer. So where do I publish? It's complicated if you live in the West. Again, I publish on Sputnik International in English, based in Moscow, and Strategic Culture in English as well, also based in Moscow, and The Cradle in Beirut. So it's easy because a lot of my stuff is republished or translated in several languages. But if you want to get for instance, if you go to my Telegram channel, it's the easiest way. Whenever I publish something, there's a link to what was published. For instance, this column that we were talking about, 2 guys walk into a barber shop in Xinjiang. So I put the link over there, and it's very easy. So you know where it is. You can click directly. And obviously, if you are in the West, that's the problem. You have to read the column somewhere else. And then you have to know who's going to republish. Then it becomes monumentally complicated. But at least you have the title of the column, right? So when I was with Asia Times, it was much easier. But that's over. That's a long time ago.
So definitely follow Pepe on Telegram. So how do they find you on Telegram? They just search your name, Pepe
Very
Escobar?
simple. My Telegram channel is at Rock and Roll Geopolitics in one word. Well, many of you don't know, but I am originally a rock and roller. Completely.
You still are. You're still OG.
Yeah, totally OG. In the beginning of my in journalism, I was, among other things, I was a professional music critic with lots of Yes, with lots of responsibilities, interviewing rock stars, reviewing records, going to shows, whatever, editing the music page. So I did this for 3 or 4 years at least.
Tell me that you did an interview with Germs on your career doing that.
No, I didn't.
German.
No,
You didn't. Oh
no.
no.
Yeah,
Okay, I
he talked about it, but in the end, it never happened. We could do this later.
okay.
No, it'll be a
Okay, I'll let
it'll
him
be a
know.
pleasure. It'll be a
I want
pleasure.
to. I want to.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun for our music listeners, because I can talk about direct experience of post-punk in London, for instance, interviewing all these people, The Cure, Echo and the Bunnymen, Sex Pistols, Clash, you name it, all that. And of course, when I was growing up, the 60s and the 70s, when the music was absolutely out of sight. Then we can talk about records. We can talk about the best records ever, why, how the Beatles used to record in the studio, like how Led Zeppelin came about, that kind of stuff. I'm sure a lot of people will love that.
Oh, I would love that. I mean, in fact, I'm going to remind Germs to follow up to make sure.
Okay, let's do that. We can do the three of us. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So for the people who are watching this from UK columns, make sure to keep your eye on the channel. We're gonna have Pepe interview on rock and roll coming up next. Thank you, rock and roll.
Cheers, Carl.
Well,
all the best to
awesome.
you, to your family, and to Southeast Bali. Very important.
Yes. Thank you very much, Pepe, for making the time to
pleasure.
talk to us.
Thank you.
And
Cheers.
I hope to see you again on your next journey.
No, we're gonna be together in this next trip.
Oh,
it's still
okay.
a long way away, but we're gonna be together. We're gonna be together in this next trip, definitely. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers.